Hey y'all, happy weekend. Hopefully everybody doing pretty good. Hopefully the week went well for you. And next week is going to be an even more amazing week. If you are like me, you are definitely in the midst of a lot of transitions. It's the season that a lot of growth and changes may be taking place in your life. So the one thing about growth and transition, it's not easy. And sometimes you have a lot of transitions at one time, and it can be a bit overwhelming. But at the end of those transitions, you're going to have some growth. And in that growth, you're going to learn some things about yourself. Some things that you thought were right won't be right. Some areas that you thought you had it all together in, you're going to find out that not so much. Some areas that you didn't think you were doing well in, you're going to realize that, you know what, you actually are excelling. You actually are ahead of the game. One thing I truly believe is that when you are really tapped in and you really trying to level up, you really trying to be the best person that you could be, walk the best walk that you can walk in this life, I really believe that it's possible and that you will have the ability to do that if that is something that you truly desire to do. And like I said from the beginning, that's just the place that I am in life right now, that I am really trying to make the best of the time that I have here. Because we're not here for a long time. If you are graced to get longevity, that is truly a blessing. But that's just not the case for everybody. But regardless of how long you be here, you can still make an impact. Part of making an impact is going to be that you have to tap into what it is that you're supposed to be doing, what it is that you should be doing, the directions that you should be going in, who you should be going in those directions with. You basically got to do what Cat Williams was saying in one of his comedy shows. He was saying how you got to be in tune with your star player. That's something that always resonated with me. Being in tune with your star player. You are the star player. And you definitely got to be in tune with your star player. You have to make sure that you doing what needs to be done for you. Not for your lady, not for your man, not for your parents. Yes, you do owe your children some things, indeed. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that if you on the right path for you, them kids gonna be taken care of. But you need to definitely make sure that you're in tune with what you need to be doing for yourself, and the growth and the leveling up and the adding and the subtracting and all those things that go on with you. So I said all that just to share that what I found out this week in my leveling up and in my transitional growth. It was a tough week for me, to be honest, because I have a lot of different things going on. Some good, some not so good, right? But the reality of it is that it's just not always going to be good, right? But you don't give up because it's not good. Because today it could not be good, and then tomorrow it could be wonderful. But if you give up today, you will never know how good your tomorrow was going to be. So, one important concept in this growth period that I'm in is forgiveness. And I'm what I like to call, I'm hard on myself. Like I like to be self-checked. I like to sit back and evaluate and take a look at, the areas that I'm falling short on because I want to be better. I never be perfect, but excellence is the standard. That's the standard. So in this week and in, having conversations, I just had a great conversation with my cousin, actually. We went to the cigar bar. We had a nice little outing there. And afterwards, I shared some things with her that had been on my heart. And basically, the takeaway from that conversation was forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. We're not perfect. We'll never be. Sometimes, no matter how good you are, you still miss the mark. No matter how good you may be to a person, no matter how good you may be at your job, on your job, there will be times when you still miss the mark. And sometimes you miss the mark by such a wide range. It's often embarrassing, or it can make you angry. When you reflect and say, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do this? Right? We just don't get it right all the time. And with that, you have to be able to give yourself some grace. I'm a big proponent of giving people grace. Sometimes you got to give yourself some grace, right? Give yourself room to not be 100% all the time. Sometimes we place so much more added stress on ourselves by sometimes we expect too much, right? I say excellence is the standard, not perfection. It's always okay to expect the best from yourself, but it's never okay to not allow for mistakes, shortcomings, not just in other people, but in ourselves. Sometimes we quick to forgive other people, but we so extra hard on ourselves. You're not going to always be the perfect parent. You're not going to always be the perfect sister, the perfect child, the perfect brother, the perfect husband. You're just not. And when you miss the mark, you have to be able to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not always showing up in the way that you anticipate on showing up, in the way that you would like to show up. Forgive yourself those times. Give yourself the grace to be human. In this last week, I've really been reflecting on relationships with various people, and reflecting on the situations in which I know I fell short, right? And I mishandled some things. And doing the work on self, being able to admit that I was wrong. But once you admit that you're wrong, then what? Because you can't always go back and fix that situation. Just because you admit that you were wrong, just because you acknowledge that you were wrong, that's just a step in the process, right? Because sometimes you can go back and apologize to that person. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they don't want to hear nothing from you. Sometimes you've done that mistake too many times to the point where it's no longer a mistake. It was a choice, and you continue to make bad choices. So that person doesn't want to hear your sorries. They don't want to hear your apologies. And in all actuality, you tired of giving the apologies because you've done it so many times. You sick of being sorry, right? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And then do better. Make a conscious decision to make better choices. Make a conscious decision to do better. I don't care if you have to get a whole strategic plan together. Do a SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Hey, figure out how you can do that thing better so that you don't have to continue making the same mistakes, so that you don't continue going down that rabbit hole. Figure out where you're going wrong at, where you went wrong at. Acknowledge it. Forgive yourself for the things that you did. Come up with a plan on how you're going to move forward, what you're going to do next time you're in that situation, how it could have been handled better. And then you move on. If you offer apologies to someone and for whatever reason they have not accepted the apology, maybe their heart is hard towards you. Maybe they're sick of you. They're tired of you. They're sick of you. They don't want to hear it. They have every right to feel that way. Sometimes the things that we do to people, we really don't realize the impact. We don't realize how we're hurting people. Because if we did, we just might make some different decisions if we understood the mental and emotional impact that our actions have on people. If we really understood that, if we saw them in the wee hours of the night and they're crying, or they're up on the phone or in person talking to their homegirls or their homeboys about the situation, in the wee hours where they praying so hard, they in tears, they don't know what to do. They so hurt and distraught. If we saw those things that the people actually go through, some of those things we would not do to that person because we wouldn't want it done to ourselves. I truly believe that we just don't know the impact that we have on people sometimes when we say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. Sometimes the action may not have even been intentional. But nevertheless, it caused so much damage and disruption in that person's life. And as a woman, I'm here to tell you, like, the worst thing I hate going through as a heterosexual woman, let me tell you this. Let me just say that. The worst thing I hate going through are issues with a man. Because, man, let me tell y'all something. When we truly care about you and we are disrupted emotionally by something you've done or said, that impacts our life in such a heavy way. If I could tell you the days that I called in, I can't even go work today. Until I wrap my head around what's going on in my life and my relationship, I cannot be of any assistance to somebody else. Those are things I don't know if y'all know that about us, you know? And I can't speak for every woman in this world because some of us are so tough, you know, we just block it out and we just gonna move on and we just gonna act like what he did is not affecting us. And inside we are breaking, we are crumbling in pieces because number one, the pain is so heavy. And then number two, we don't even know where to start to dissect and to break that thing down and figure out how to deal with it. Some days, you know, you be so hurt, you don't even want to talk to your homegirls. You can't even have that conversation with them yet because you have not unpacked that thing yet to even know where to start or which one of your homegirls you're going to go to even tell about this situation. Which one going to give you an attitude? Which one going to be like, girl, you should have just done? Or which one of them going to, you know, pray with you? Which one of them going to be able to talk you down and to say, no, don't go over there and mess up his stuff. Leave them alone. You don't need to go to jail, girl. You know, you have to figure out which one of your friends you could even bring this situation to. Which one of them tired of hearing about y'all. Which one of them hate men. So ain't no point in you even going to talk to them anyways about it. Right? So many different dynamics we experience when we're going through men problems. So that's the one problem I hate to have to deal with. You hear me? If I cannot have one other man problem for the rest of my life, listen, Lord, you did that. Because that is something that truly affects a woman, at least this woman, to her core. So I generally move around in a way that I treat people like I want to be treated. That's what I strive to do. Now, do I fall short? Do I come up short in that area? Of course. But generally, if a man has dealt with me, he know that if he dealt with me in a way that we had something significant going on, he know that I was a whole 100, right? Now, when I start getting to the 90, 80, 70 mark, it's something he done did to get me to that point, right? Or it's something that I'm not able to fully process and handle, so I'm at that point. Probably because of something he has done, though, right? And I just haven't figured out how to unpack that thing and really deal with it. But nevertheless, I said all that just to reiterate how sometimes the actions of another person can truly, truly be so heavy on another person. And it will behoove us to be mindful of the things that we do, because you just never know how it's going to impact someone. And saying that, I have to circle back to say, but once you know you've done something wrong and you have tried to rectify it, you have made amends or made attempt to make amends, even if it has not worked. After you've done all you could do about that situation, you have to get to the point where you forgive yourself for what you've done, and then you try not to do it again. You make every attempt to identify those triggers, what caused you to act out like you did, and then to arrest those actions so that they never happen again, especially if there was something that was truly detrimental to someone. You just don't want to move around in life where you are just constantly causing pain to people, right? And when I'm saying you forgive yourself, it doesn't give you a right to just go do stuff and then say, oh, well, I'm going to forgive myself, or I don't forgive myself for that. Like, I don't mean you move around haphazardly. I mean, you make changes accordingly so that you don't continue to end up in that same space, right? Because that's where I am with some situations in my life. I realize that there are some things that I have done repeatedly, right? And they had a certain impact, right, on my situation. And then they impact me because now I'm in a situation where I'm trying to figure out some things in life. God is really working with me in a lot of areas. So because I'm trying to make amends, figure things out, and level up, guilt, it'll sit on you, right? So other people will say that's like conviction, like the Holy Spirit is convicting you when you are going left and you know you should be going right. Whatever it is you decide to call it, respect it, understand it, acknowledge it. Something is letting you know that you went astray. You caused some pain, possibly. You did something wrong. Make the amends and forgive yourself and try to do better. I feel like that is that's always going to be a part of our walk in this life, to try to do better, to try to repair relationships, make amends if we can. Sometimes a relationship can't be repaired, and that's okay, because then that just means that that's a relationship that is not going to be a part of the next phase of your life. your time with that relationship is up. And it's time to move on to the next thing that is for you, whatever that may be. If that person is gone, or if a person don't want you, or you don't want them, then that just means that season is up with them. It don't mean that all the seasons are up. It means that you're moving into the next season. And you have to welcome that. Change is always coming. You have to welcome it and be prepared for it. So if you know you went through some things or did some things in the previous season of your life, and you know that you do not want to replicate and duplicate those actions, it's up to you to address what has happened and then move accordingly. Don't carry that guilt with you. Don't carry that baggage. You have to release it and move on to the next phase, move on to the next thing. And the funny thing, my dad always say this, that you keep getting the same tests in life until you pass them. And I've noticed that, like, you're going to get those same tests. They may not even come from the same people, but they show up in the same way. If you're easily pissed off, if you're easily agitated, aggravated, guess what? People going to keep agitating you. People going to keep aggravating you. Maybe not the same person, maybe in not the same way, but it's going to keep happening until you figure out how to not be easily aggravated or agitated. So some of the same things in life keep happening until you figure out the best practices to deal with those things. And then you will see, after you figure it out, you might not even see those same issues no more. I realize that with people in particular, when it's certain people who really get on your nerves, until you stop letting them get on your nerves and get under your skin, it continues. But once you beat it and you can ignore them, overlook them, don't even see them, don't even acknowledge their presence, it ain't really nothing they can do to aggravate you no more. Once you conquer that. And it's like that with people. It's like that with tasks. It's like that with almost everything. Once you figure out how to handle those triggers, once you are able to even acknowledge that, hey, this is a trigger for me, or this person is a trigger, or when this person says X, Y, and Z, that triggers me. Now, once I get triggered, how do I respond to that? Once you figure out your best practices in dealing with those triggers, you will thank me later. Sometimes you have to ignore it. Sometimes you have to address it. And sometimes you have to do a little bit of both, or whatever it takes to conquer that, so that it doesn't keep showing up in your life over and over again. The same things keep happening, and then you keep responding the same way. At some point, doing the same thing over again and not making any headway, not accomplishing anything, at some point, common sense should just tell you, like, hey, I got to figure out another way. I cannot continue to do the same thing. I cannot continue to let this person bother me. I cannot continue to respond in this negative way and end up with these same negative results. So again, in this season, I challenge you, I encourage you to do the work, introspective, figure out where you're going wrong, try to make amends, forgive yourself, move on accordingly. So that's my good word for this weekend. So as you move forward, if it's people that you need to make amends with, do so. Sometimes the people that you need to make amends with, it's the person that you're looking at right in the mirror. Make amends with yourself. Forgive yourself. You know you had good intentions. You know you did the best that you could do, but then you just so happen to just drop the ball or get mad, make the wrong decisions, say the wrong things, move too swiftly, wait too late, think too long. Like they used to say in the street, study long, study wrong. Sometimes that's true. You could think about something so long that you really made the wrong decision. Sometimes you can move too quick and don't give it enough thought, and now you done said the wrong thing. Can't take it back. Or you have done the wrong thing. Can't undo it. So that's where we at with it. In this season, I think we all should be strategic. We should be mindful. Listen, so many people are dealing with mental health issues, right? So many people are dealing with mental health issues, and I understand that as a culture, that's something that we tend to not, historically, that's something that we tend to not address or acknowledge or just say, oh, they crazy, or you know how they is, they just like that. Listen, it's more to that story, right? And because sometimes you don't know what people are dealing with and why they're dealing with it, that's all the more reason for you to be mindful of what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. It's all the more reason for you to be self-checked, to think about what you're doing, what you're saying. All the more reason for when you realize that you've made the wrong move, you said the wrong thing, for you to try to fix that and fix you from not doing it. So that's that. And I hope y'all have a good weekend.